Hey everybody, you're here with Jane over at Blue Box 29. Welcome into Folklore and Flourish. Today is July 6th. We are still in week 1 of our July theme with the gods and titans and the archetype of the divine witness. Like I said, we're still in week 1, which is all about the first gods. We have seen a lot of gods so far. We've seen the wind gods, the fire gods, the sky father. Lots of masculine energy so far, and today we take the complete opposite shift and we go full feminine power today with the Earth Mother. So today is all about the Earth Mother, and the theme is a creation through body. And the lesson is that the Earth is alive. So creation through body, and that the Earth is alive. So we're going to be looking at this through 4 different folklores. Today, we're going to look at it through Andean, Greek, Chinese, and Yoruba tradition, and we are going to think about what grows through me. So what is growing through me, right? So as we listen to these Earth Mother stories, we're going to think about that. And we're going to touch some soil today and notice its temperature and the texture. And we're going to remember that true growth begins in the darkness and pressure. So that is why we're going to feel the earth today, feel some soil, and then we are going to recognize ourselves as a living ground through which something new is forming. So we're going to recognize ourselves as living ground that something new is forming. So enjoy this huge shift today. We see 4 beautiful stories of Earth Mothers. We're going to think about all these things and just kind of be a little bit more still today. Be attentive to what's going on around us and the earth that we are on. What the friggity frack? Anyways, enjoy these 4 stories, and I will see you tomorrow for our final day of the first gods. See ya. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1. Pachamama, Mother of the Living Earth. Long before the snow-capped peaks of the Andes stretched toward the heavens, before terraced fields climbed the mountainsides, and before the first communities cultivated maize and potato beneath the brilliant South American sun, the peoples of the Andes honored Pachamama, the great Earth Mother whose living body nourished every creature that walked upon her. Her name joins the Quechua words Pacha, meaning world, earth, space, or time, and Mama, meaning mother, revealing a being who is far more than the ground beneath one's feet. Pachamama was the living spirit of the world itself, embracing mountains, valleys, rivers, fertile soil, changing seasons, and the unseen rhythms that sustained all life. Every seed planted within her body carried the promise of tomorrow. Every harvest reflected her generosity, and every stream flowed from the highest peaks, reminded the people that life continually emerged from her abundance. Farmers never entered their fields believing they owned the land. Instead, they approached it with gratitude, understanding that they were guests upon the body of a loving mother, whose gifts required both respect and care. Before planting or harvesting, families often offered small portions of food, maize, chicha, or coca leaves, back to Pachamama, returning a share of what they had received in a sacred act of reciprocity known as Aini. This ancient principle taught that balance is maintained when generosity is met with gratitude, and that taking without giving eventually wounds both the land and the human spirit. To the Andean peoples, the towering Apus, the sacred mountain spirits, watched over communities alongside Pachamama, protecting the valleys while drawing strength from the same living earth that nourished humanity. Together, they formed a family of creation where sky, mountain, water, and soil worked in harmony rather than in competition. Pachamama herself was never imagined as distant or unreachable. She was present beneath every footstep, within every garden, and in every loaf of bread baked from grain grown in her embrace. Even earthquakes were understood not merely as disasters, but as reminders that the Earth Mother was alive, breathing and shifting beneath the surface in ways beyond human understanding. Through her stories, generations learned that prosperity could never be separated from stewardship. The richest harvest came not from exhausting the land, but from caring for it with patience, humility, and reverence. To wound the earth carelessly was to wound the mother who continually sustained them all. Through Pachamama, the Andean world remembered that humanity does not stand apart from nature, but grows within it, receiving every breath, every meal, and every sunrise as gifts from a living world that asks only to be loved in return. Her enduring presence reminds us that the earth is not merely where life happens. It is a living relationship, patiently holding every generation while quietly nurturing countless new beginnings beneath the surface long before they ever bloom into the light. Story 2. Rhea, mother of the Olympians. Long before the thunder of Zeus echoed across Mount Olympus, before the Olympian gods ruled the heavens, and before the great age of heroes filled the songs of ancient Greece, there walked Rhea, the mighty Earth Mother whose quiet courage preserved the future of the world itself. Born among the ancient Titans, the children of Gaia, the Earth, and Uranus, the sky, Rhea belonged to the first great generation of divine beings who shaped the earliest stage of creation. She became the wife of her brother Cronus, who ruled during the legendary Golden Age. Yet even paradise can become overshadowed by fear. After hearing a prophecy that one of his own children would one day overthrow him, Cronus allowed terror to eclipse love. Each time Rhea gave birth, he seized the newborn child and swallowed it whole, believing he could imprison fate itself. One by one, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon disappeared into their father's darkness, while Rhea endured the unimaginable grief of watching each child taken from her arms. Yet when her youngest son was born, the sorrowing mother refused to surrender hope. Carrying the infant Zeus across the sea to the island of Crete, she hid him within a sacred cave upon Mount Ida, entrusting him to nurturing nymphs while the armored Curetes danced, clashing their shields and drowning out the cries of the divine child, so Cronus would never discover his hiding place. Returning to her husband, Rhea wrapped a great stone in swaddling cloth and placed it into his waiting hands. Believing it to be his newborn son, Cronus swallowed the stone without suspicion, while the child, destined to change the cosmos, grew safely beyond his reach. Years later, Zeus returned to fulfill the prophecy, freeing his imprisoned brothers and sisters and leading the Olympians to victory over the Titans. Though Zeus would become king of the gods, the triumph of Olympus began not upon a battlefield, but within a brave heart of a mother who refused to allow fear to determine the future. Throughout Greek tradition, Rhea remained closely connected to mountains, fertile valleys, wild animals, and the enduring rhythms of motherhood itself. She was often shown seated upon a throne, flanked by lions, symbols of quiet strength and protective power rather than domination. To the Greeks, Rhea embodied the patient resilience of the earth, enduring hardship while continuing to nourish life with unwavering devotion. Her story reminds us that some of history's greatest victories are won not through swords or thunderbolts, but through the steadfast courage to protect what is still small, fragile, and full of possibility. Like the fertile soil that shelters a seed long before anyone sees its first green shoot, Rhea teaches that the future often survives because someone chooses to guard it with love when no one else yet understands its importance. Story 3. Hou Tu, Keeper of the Living Earth. Long before the great dynasties united the lands of China, before rice fields mirrored the sky in quiet terraces, and before great cities rose behind ancient walls, the people honored Hou Tu, the revered guardian of the living earth whose quiet strength supported every mountain, river, forest, and field beneath the heavens. While many traditions imagine the earth as something beneath humanity's feet, Chinese belief recognized the land itself as a sacred force filled with balance, order, and enduring life. Hou Tu became the divine embodiment of that living foundation, sustaining all creation while standing in harmonious partnership with heaven, Tian, above. Together, heaven and earth formed the great balance through which all life flourished, reminding every generation that neither could exist fully without the other. Ancient rulers understood that their responsibility extended beyond governing people alone. They were also entrusted with maintaining harmony between the heavens, the earth, and the communities that descended upon both. Because of this sacred relationship, emperors performed solemn ceremonies honoring Hou Tu, offering gratitude for fertile harvests, peaceful seasons, and the continued well-being of the land itself. Farmers likewise approached the soil with deep reverence, recognizing that even planted seed depended upon the quiet generosity of the earth beneath them. The rich fields that yielded grain, vegetables, and medicinal herbs were not viewed simply as resources to be used, but as gifts entrusted to humanity's care. Hou Tu's presence could be felt wherever mountains stood unmoved through countless generations, wherever rivers patiently carved valleys from solid stone, and wherever forests renewed themselves after winter's long embrace. She represented stability without stagnation, reminding people that true balance is never rigid but constantly adapting through the natural rhythms of the seasons. Her wisdom echoed through the ancient philosophy of yin and yang, where seeming opposites such as light and darkness, activity and rest, sky and earth work together rather than against one another. The earth did not compete with the heavens, it completed them. Through Hou Tu, people learn that strength often appears quietly, supporting everything around it without demanding recognition. Like fertile soil hidden beneath flourishing fields, the greatest acts of nurturing frequently happen unseen, preparing the conditions in which others may grow. Her patience became one of her greatest teachings. Trees do not rise overnight. Rivers do not shape mountains in a single season, and wisdom itself grows slowly through years of faithful care. The earth asks only that we remain present enough to notice its gifts. Through Hou Tu, generations remembered that humanity does not stand above nature, but within its living balance, receiving every harvest, every sheltering tree, and every flowing stream through the relationship built upon gratitude, stewardship, and mutual care. She reminds us that the strongest foundations are often the quietest ones, faithfully supporting life without seeking praise, and that true abundance grows wherever balance is honored with humility and respect. Story 4. Yamoja, Mother of Living Waters and Earth. Long before kingdoms flourished across the forests and savannas of West Africa, before marketplaces echoed with songs and laughter, before families gathered beneath the shade of ancient trees, the Yoruba people honored Yamoja, the great mother whose nurturing spirit flowed through both the waters of the earth and the lives of their children. Her name is often understood to mean mother whose children are like fish, a beautiful image expressing the countless lives that grow and flourish under her loving care. While many later traditions came to associate Yamoja with the sea, the oldest Yoruba stories remember her first as the mother of rivers, fertility, motherhood, and the life-giving abundance that nurtures the earth itself. Every flowing stream, every fertile field refreshed by rain, and every child welcomed into the world reflected her quiet and generous presence. Like the rivers that patiently carve their paths through the stone, while bringing life wherever they travel, Yamoja's strength was never measured by force alone, but by her endless capacity to sustain, comfort, and renew. She was remembered as one of the great Orishas, the divine beings who helped maintain harmony between Olodumare, the supreme creator, humanity, and the natural world. Families sought Yamoja's blessing during childbirth, prayed for healthy children, and offered gratitude for the waters that sustained their crops and communities. Yet her motherhood extended far beyond individual families. She embraced entire villages, reminding every generation that humanity itself belongs to one great family rooted with creation. The Yoruba recognized that water and earth existed in a sacred partnership. Rivers nourish the soil gives rise to forests and harvests, and every living creature depends upon this quiet relationship for survival. Through Yamoja, they understood that nurturing is one of the greatest forms of strength. Just as water patiently shapes mountains without violence, compassion possesses the remarkable power to transform lives over time. Stories often describe Yamoja as infinitely patient, welcoming those who were weary, grieving, or searching for comfort with the unconditional love of a mother whose embrace never grows small. Her flowing waters became symbols of emotional healing, renewal, and the gentle resilience that continues even after seasons of hardship. Through her example, people learn that true abundance is measured not by how much one possesses, but by how generously one pours life into others. Like a river that never drinks its own water, Yamoja exists to nourish everything around her. Her stories remind us that every act of kindness becomes another stream joining the great river of humanity, carrying hope forward long after the moment has passed. Through Yamoja, generations remembered that the earth is not alive only because it grows, forests, or raises mountains, but because it continually gives itself without asking for praise, inviting each of us to become faithful caretakers whose lives leave the world more nourished than we found it. Daily thread for July 6th, the Earth Mothers. Across soaring mountains, fertile valleys, ancient forests, and life-giving rivers, today's stories remind us that the Earth has long been remembered not simply as a place beneath our feet, but as a living presence that patiently carries every generation. The peoples of the Andes honored Pachamama as the generous mother who nourishes all life through the sacred rhythm of giving and receiving. The Greeks remember Rhea, whose quiet courage protected the future when hope seemed lost. In ancient China, Hou Tu embodied the steady balance that allows heaven, earth, and humanity to flourish together, while the Yoruba celebrated Yamoja, whose nurturing spirit flowed like living waters, reminding every child that true strength is found in compassion freely given. Though these traditions blossomed in different corners of the world, each recognized the same enduring truth. The greatest acts of love are often the quiet ones. Seeds break the soil without applause. Rivers nourish the land without asking for recognition. Mothers give of themselves each day, trusting that their care will bloom in lives they may never fully see. Our ancestors understood that the earth teaches us not only how to live, but how to give, patiently reminding us that everything capable of lasting beauty first begins by taking root beneath the surface. As tonight's fire settles into glowing embers, consider this. Every kind word, every act of kindness, every lesson shared, and every life gently encouraged is a seed placed into the soil of another heart. Though you may never witness every flower that grows from what you've planted, the earth has always trusted the faithful hand sowed today so that future generations may one day stand in the shade of forests they did not plant.